Check, check. Yo. Alright. Yo, what's up? And this is the next installment in the movie series. I gotta think of a name for it. Hey, yeah, that's a good idea. Um if anybody can think of a name for this series of videos I'm doing, leave it in the comments. Because yeah, I have no name and it's getting a little weird. But yeah, next is Daredevil. This is a movie I feel a little different than everybody else on. Like, I don't get why people hate it so much. Like, I'm not saying it's great. It's not great, but it's far from a bad movie. Like, straight up. Uh, let's see. Ben Affleck plays Daredevil in the movie, and his origin is pretty similar. Like, minus little minor stuff, is pretty similar. Um, the kid, even the kid that's like the little kid, Matt Murdock, he even does a good job. Like, I felt like all the acting performances, minus probably the Kingpin and Colin Farrell is or Michael Clark Duncan is the Kingpin, and Colin Farrell is Bullseye. Even though the Kingpin thing didn't bother me that much because he wasn't in the movie that much. He was in, I think, like 4 or 5 really important scenes, and then aside from that, he wasn't in the movie much. But Colin Farrell's Bullseye, he was trying too hard. Like, he was just trying way too hard, and it was obvious. Um, yeah. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, the overall plot, it's pretty much the origin of Daredevil at the beginning. How he's in the accident. He wakes up, and now all of a sudden he can hear everything around him. He has a heightened sense of touch and all sorts of stuff. And he has like this radar sense now. He's freaking out. I even like that part. Um, and after that we get into where he's older, and he's already a vigilante. He's carrying out justice and all that stuff. And then he meets Elektra, and then he gets tangled up with Elektra. And if you know Elektra, Jennifer Garner. By the way, Jennifer Garner did a really good job as Elektra. That's just my opinion. Like, she looked the part. Her acting was pretty strong, and she was sexy in this movie, straight up. Yeah, I thought she did a really good job. And he gets tangled with her and all that stuff, and they develop a sort of romance. And then later on in the movie, her father is assassinated by Bullseye, and she believes that Daredevil was the one that did it because Bullseye and Daredevil fight beforehand, and she finds a Daredevil staff inside of Bullseye. So, I mean, inside of her father. So she just assumes that, and then she sees Daredevil running from the scene, and she assumes that Daredevil did it, and of course she's wrong. Uh, and then they fight. She stabs Matt, and she realizes that, hey, maybe he was telling the truth, maybe it wasn't him. I won't ruin everything because it's a cooler fight scene, and that's my other thing. The fight scenes were like, for the most part, pretty good in this movie. This is part of the beginning where it's like this. It's like he's in this bar. I think it's some kind of bar, like some type of place where bikers and shit hang out. And it's like this fight, and like it's like people are shooting at him, and he's using like the fan for sound, so he can use his radar sense and all that stuff. And like the camera flashes, like the gunshots will happen, and then you'll see. So it looked really cool, like straight. I remember going to the movies and seeing it, thinking like, damn, that looks hot, and yeah, it was just really cool. And part I didn't like of the movie, how Punisher became, Punisher, my bad. How Daredevil turned into the Punisher for a second, like he was killing people and stuff, and then at the end, something happens. I'm like, really, that's a little contradictory, don't you think? Like, come on. Like I said, Ben Affleck did a good job. That's just my opinion. Like, I thought, especially as Matt Murdock, I thought he was really good, to be honest. What was I gonna say? Yeah, Matt. Oh yeah, and there's some cool little Easter eggs in this movie. Like, there's a cameo from Frank Miller. Like, tell me if your guys spotted, because I laughed my ass off when I was watching this the other day. I was like, Frank Miller. There's this part where as if you know Daredevil's origin, his dad has to throw the big fight because he the Kingpin owns him or whatever, and one of the Kingpin's workers, he lets him know, like, you have to throw this fight, or think about your son. Bad stuff will happen to you and your family if you don't throw this fight. And he was like, when you beat all those fighters, he was like, Miller, Mack, Bendis, those were my fighters. And if you guys know Daredevil, Frank Miller is synonymous with Daredevil for the work he did in the 80s and early 90s. Mack, David Mack, I think, yeah, David Mack, whoa, is synonymous for his work with Daredevil in the mid 90s, late 90s. And Brian Michael Bendis is, in the early part of the new millennium, all the way until Andy Diggle took over, was, writing Daredevil, was synonymous with Daredevil. And Andy Diggle is great. I mean, I don't think it was that long, but Bendis was writing for a while. Same thing with Mac. Pretty much these guys are known for writing the best Daredevil stuff. And I thought that was really cool how he's, Mac, Miller, Bendis. I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. I really dug the movie, man. I really don't have much bad to say about it. I don't have much to say at all. I thought for the most part it was a good movie. I give it like a 7.75 to be honest. I didn't see much wrong with it. I even like Daredevil's costume, and that was a thing a lot of people, were like, I hate his costume. But it looks pretty much the same except it's leather. I mean, whatever. I can deal with leather. What was I gonna say? John Favreau is Foggy. He was great in this movie. He was hilarious. He had like a few funny parts in this movie. And another thing I have to say, if you watch this movie, watch the director's cut, because there's a subplot in the director's cut with Coolio, and it's greatness. It's not in the theatrical cut of the movie. So if you watch this movie, or if you plan on buying this movie, buy the director's cut. Trust me on this. It's a really it seems like even when you're watching like the theatrical cut, it seems like something's missing. It adds I think like a whole 20 minutes to the movie or something like that. So yeah, all in all, this is a good movie. 7.75 out of 10. I would recommend it. My next review is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I really don't want to watch this movie again, but I promised my boy Michael Honsker, MC Honsker, whatever he wants to call himself, that I would. So yeah, that is next. And by the way, I will be uploading more than one video on this channel because I just want to, I want to. Barely anybody watches my videos anyway. I mean, it's not like I'm a suffer because of it. And by the way, tell a friend, tell a friend, I have a comic book channel. If you watch my wrestling videos, you watching this channel, tell a friend and keep it going. I've not forgot about that channel either, though. It's just I don't have much to talk about, that everyone else hasn't talked about. But I'm probably gonna have some reviews on there. But yeah, I'm talking too much. Yeah, good movie, 7.75. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.